okay, I'm nervous. Put that over here and just keep moving ahead, right? The other thing I've learned, and I think a lot of people in retirement are moving into it, failure is not as threatening as it used to be. So I feel that I'm able to make mistakes. If I pivot into something and I don't like it or it's not getting any traction, I know I can make that change.
I know you have heard the term old dogs can't learn new tricks, but I'm here to tell you that that mindset and that thinking is wrong. And in this next case study, you're going to see how Margaret has really learned to let things be hard, especially when it comes to starting her small business and opening up an Etsy shop. Y'all, letting it be hard is one of the hardest things that we can do, but one of the most beneficial things that you can learn to do is sit in that hardness and learn exactly how to do everything. And this story of Margaret and her perseverance, getting her Etsy shop started and taking off the ground, I think is really going to inspire you to also learn new tricks and let things be hard. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our next case study here on the Makers Gonna Learn channel. Today we have the amazing Margaret Hefner. Hi, Margaret. How are you?
Hi, thanks. I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So just to give everyone a little brief explanation, Margaret is a retired educator, administrator in higher education, and has since found herself in this second career path after retirement. So without further ado, I love to open these up, kind of give the floor to those that we are talking to. So Margaret, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got into the creative space.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, so I was an educator in higher ed for many, many years. And COVID kind of led me to thinking I need to retire because I wasn't crazy about teaching online so much. And it just happened to coincide with my age. So at 21, I retired. And all of a sudden, it's great the first few weeks you wake up and think, I don't have a schedule. This is wonderful. I don't even need to know what day it is. And then you think, there's a lot of time out in front of me. What am I going to do with all this time? So I was chatting about it with a dear friend, and she said, do the miniatures. Do what you love. Get back into your creative side. And I will tell you, it really has been almost a rebirth for me. I always felt like I was creative, and then I didn't have time, I guess, So when I had the time, I started looking at different things to do and finally wound up at Makers Gonna Learn. Had no idea what a Cricut machine was, but I learned from you all. So I live in Chicago with my husband, Jim, and we have 2 adult sons and 4 grandchildren that are sort of in the area, but not really close. But that's how we spend our other time.
Oh, perfect. So you said you started in the creative space doing miniatures. I'm assuming you're meaning your dollhouse miniatures.
Dollhouses, right.
So tell us about that and kind of where it led you into selling your stuff, because I feel like you're still doing your miniatures, you're still selling your miniatures. But then we'll talk about how you've added other things in, but kind of talk about, I would love for you to tell our audience how you got started with creating your miniatures, and not only creating them, I'm assuming, for yourself, but creating them to sell to others as well.
Yeah, I didn't have sales in mind at first because it really was a learning curve for me. And it never occurred to me that what I was doing was something that somebody else would like to have. But I started with a gal on YouTube, and a lot of things had changed from the time I was building dollhouses in the early 2000s to when I picked it up again. So it was really great. Mainly I was working with wood, making furniture and little tiny things like that. I have always loved the detail of dollhouses. Like, so if you have a hot dog, you have a little hot dog with a little bun, with a little swirl of mustard on it, on a little plate with a Coke next to it. So as I narrowed things down, that's what I wound up doing, is those, not the furniture so much, but food and room accessories, I guess you'd say. And that I have loved. I did a lot of that. That wasn't when I started selling on Etsy, though. But I thought, well, I might as well try and see if anybody wants them, and they do. I have this little tiny charcuterie board, with brie cheese and crackers, and it's like people love them. Great, I'm glad.
Yeah.
But the other thing about that is you really never know what people are going to like and what's going to take off. So that's really fun. I woke up this morning to an order for one of them. So
congratulations. So
thanks.
You kind of got started. You said the miniatures were not what you started with on Etsy. What did you start with selling on Etsy?
Okay. Well,
and when did you start your Etsy shop?
Okay. I was making little tiny things, little bouquets and flowers for my dollhouses, and was learning to do paper quilling doing that. And I'll tell you, that's what I found I love. I just love doing paper quilling. If anybody doesn't know what it is, it's a very simple art. It's taking little strips of colored paper and twisting them and, designing anything you want out of them. But it really is, to start, all you need is paper, glue, and a toothpick, and you're off to the races. But what I loved about that was it was a new process for me. I was back in using color, which I found it just brings me joy. I just love using color. So I opened my Etsy shop in early 2023, and didn't, how it is. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. But a friend of mine saw some of the Christmas ornaments I made, and she said, you could sell these on Etsy. And I said, no, nobody would buy them on Etsy. Well, what I found out is that, people will buy them. And if I could interject here, it's not that I was selling bad stuff, but of course, the more I've done, I've gotten better at it. But people bought those first rounds, and they gave me great positive reviews and feedback. So that really encouraged me to keep going. I found I really preferred spending my time on the quilling projects. So I do quilling wall art. I sell that. I was doing cards and boxes and things like that. So ornaments. And I've tried to do ornaments for every holiday. They don't always sell, but Christmas is insane. So that's what I've been doing this past Christmas. So that would have been my second Christmas year. I was just flooded, and I was thrilled, but I also realized I can't do this. It just takes way too much time.
So it's a very time-consuming art, and those that have seen and know what paper quilling is, especially if you're doing larger pieces, it takes you a while to accomplish those and get those finished.
Yeah, I had an order this week from a woman for 4, and it took me 4 days.
Wow.
It's what it takes. I mean, that's just, and I don't think I'm particularly slow. It's just doing the designing and working. But so at any rate, I thought, well, I'll sell the ornaments, I'll sell the wall art, and the seasons are kind of up and down. But yeah, so that's how I got moving. Do you want to know how I got into PES?
Well, I was going to get there. So My next question for you, because I know you and I know kind of your story, and knowing that creating physical products is really your bread and butter, and it's what you love to do, and it's what brings you joy. Right. However, I feel like you saw that because you said that it's time consuming, and although you want to do things in retirement that fulfill you, and you still are, you still know and understand that there is not, when you look at the time versus the money,
Hmm.
were you I feel like you realized pretty early on that the profit margins when you are creating some of these products,
Yeah.
you know, is slim to none even sometimes, because although it is very fulfilling for you to create your paper quilling projects, and if there's anything that I'm saying that you're not resonating with, please feel free to stop me, but
So far, so good.
just from what we've talked about, you are being fulfilled with that. But like you said, it was taking you 4 days to
Hmm.
create something, and the price that people are willing to pay for paper quilling projects is, I mean,
No way can you make it.
there's just not enough. You can't put a high enough price on your time.
Hmm.
So, which leads me into my next question. What really made you realize that you wanted and or needed a pivot for your shop, or at least an addition to help bring in that, I guess, extra income that you were looking for?
Well, I actually talked with you last summer, so the summer of 24, about one of the programs that was starting. And I remember emailing you and saying, I'm still enjoying the hobby. I just want to spend my time with the paper and the color. And, I guess I knew I was going to have to pivot and do something more serious, but I was still really enjoying just the retirement atmosphere. But at Christmas this year, I lost so much money if you figure in my time. And of course, it doesn't take a lot of materials, but it does take some. So here you are spending, you know, money on things to make things that there's just no way I could make back the money. And so my pivot was, pretty much what Tanner says. I had to go from being primarily a hobbyist to being a businesswoman. And I was ready to do that in February when our program started. I knew I needed to do that. Um, I'm finding that I don't have to give up making my miniatures and my paper quilling. Um, and furthermore, I'm discovering that I love designing. I love doing the digital download designs, and everything that we're learning. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is really cool. I really like doing this. So it still is very much feeding my need for creativity, but I also see that I am developing and going to be able to develop a business out of it. So, with your help.
So really, your pivot was last Christmas when or last Christmas when you realized how much money you were losing
Exactly.
with the time that you're putting into it. Was that scary for you to realize, hey, like this is not really sustainable for me? Like I'm going to have to find a different business model?
It can't, I mean, when you're working 60 or 70 hours a week quilling Christmas ornaments, just at some point you say, this is not going to work. It doesn't matter how much I like it. So yeah, I mean, I just said, and frankly, my husband said, you just can't be spending all of your time doing it. And it's not a long time. It's about a month before Christmas, but still, is there a
Right.
busier time of the year? Right? So yeah, I was realizing at that point I had to pivot to a business. And it scared me. I'm not a business person.
I
So,
mean, pivoting, period, whether that be in business, in life, anything, having to make a shift
right.
out of something that you are not comfortable with,
Mhm.
familiar with, it can be a scary process.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter
So
how old you are.
it does not, you can be 10, you can be 50, you can be 30, you can be 70. It doesn't matter how old you are. Making a
Mhm.
pivot in your life can be scary.
Yeah.
So, how did you kind of like get over that scared feeling? What did you do that really helped you move past that and realize, okay, I'm on the right path. The pivot is needed. Like, here's what I'm going to do, because I feel like a lot of people get hung up and they get stuck in that scared feeling,
Right.
and they don't allow themselves to be scared but still do things, make that pivot that they know that they need.
Yeah. I love that you said that, allowing yourself to be scared. It's like, okay, I'm nervous. Put that over here and just keep moving ahead, right? The other thing I've learned, and I think a lot of people in retirement are moving into it. Failure is not as threatening as it used to be. So I feel that I'm able to make mistakes. If I pivot into something and I don't like it or it's not getting any traction, I know I can make that change. Back to your question, though, what made me realize I could make that pivot? The PES program and coaching, because I knew I didn't have to do it all by myself. And I had experts available to me who have done this, put together this amazing program. I would have access to someone that, when I say I'm terrified, somebody could talk me through it and work me through it. So it's the emotional, the mindset stuff, as well as the practical hands-on. This is how you make a template,
Yeah.
So, and PES has done that for me.
So the coaching is really like what kind of helped you get over that hump.
Yes, yeah.
And honestly, I feel like there's a lot of people that, and myself included, I was not a proponent of coaching a lot, like especially a lot of people look at life coach or business coach, and I'm like, I'm a very independent person. I
Right.
like to be independent. And I feel like a lot of people are the same, and we feel like I can do it on my own. I don't need anybody's help. I don't need to pay for coaching. I don't need that.
Yeah.
But through even me as a coach and helping everybody, I have learned how important coaching is. And I'm going to go back to something that you said when you were speaking with Tanner at one point, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it even more so. You said that if you are, let's say, an athlete, there was some lady who had a gymnast, her child was a gymnast, and you, or an athlete, and you were like, as an athlete, we don't try, athletes don't try to do all of this on their own. They have coaches. So
Right.
why would it be any different for a business, someone trying to start a business or needing help in certain aspects of their life?
Yeah, because so much of the coaching and the fear is mindset. It's not that I'm not capable of doing some things physically, what quilling or whatever the things that we're learning, but I don't know where to start. I don't know where to finish. I don't know how to make. I spoke with my coach yesterday, and she was just so great at saying, all right, I'm hearing you say this and this and this. How about if we zero in here, and in a couple of weeks you come back to me and tell me how you think this is going? Could I do that for myself? Sure, but I'd have to think of it, and then I would actually have to be disciplined enough and accountable to myself enough. And frankly, I mean, who does that?
I mean, it's kind of one of those things you have to take a step back and look at what you're saying, what you're thinking, like objectively. And
Right.
that's hard to do as an individual, period.
Absolutely.
But as someone from the outside looking into you as your coach, staying on the outside, looking and hearing what you're saying,
Yes.
I feel like it really helps guide us where we need to go and helps us to see things that otherwise we wouldn't catch up on.
That's precisely the point. And furthermore, you all are not just coaching me. You have experience coaching. So the things that I confront probably are not the first time you've run into it. So you've got other things in the back of your mind. You've got different kind of training that you can bring to it. And here's another way to think about it, I think. It just saves a lot of time and grief. Just to be able to say, I've got this program and I have these people who are available to me when I don't know where to turn. And it has made all the difference for me. And I think coaching in anything would make a lot of sense. So also, people who are retired, can't speak for everybody, obviously, but you can get into a mindset that I don't need help anymore. I've done all that. I don't need to. But honestly, if you've had the courage to make a pivot in retirement, that is exactly when you should be saying, I need a teacher, I need a coach, I need a community who can support me and teach me. So
You said the word community, and honestly, It is. We do have such a good community that we have built.
Hmm.
But one of the things and the reason that we wanted to build this community is because we do have a lot of people who are either nearing retirement or in retirement, or around that area, and they're like, I don't know what to do. Finding a community in and of itself when you're in retirement, I feel I'm not I've not reached retirement, but just having a community of like-minded individuals, I feel like can also help keep you from feeling so isolated in retirement
That's,
sometimes.
that's exactly right. Because nobody in my old life appreciates, you know how I mean that, what I'm doing. I mean, they really do think, isn't it, Margaret has a nice hobby? I'm so glad you have some way to spend your time. And that's how it was for me for a long time. They're not, many people yet are not yet seeing the pivot that I've made. But the point is, they were my old community and they were great for that time in my life, but they don't transfer over here. So I need to find others who I can just be part of this with. And I'll tell you, have gotten to know another woman. We've been FaceTiming and, trying to work through some of the issues that we're both having. And it's been great. Now I have a new friend. Actually, I have two new friends from
Well,
doing this. So,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love these are the stories that I love hearing, and I feel like everybody else loves to hear.
Mhm.
Is just that creating this, helping coach you through your business, teach you the things that we already know, giving you all of the expertise that we have gained over the years, but also connecting you with like-minded people is
Yes.
such a big part of this.
And that's the difference that just going on YouTube and doing a Maker's Gonna Learn video. It's great. I learn a lot. You guys are wonderful at explaining things. But again, to have a group of people that I know are going through the same things really helps. And you can get on the text and somebody will say, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Can somebody explain it? I haven't seen a lot of this yet, but I have no problem jumping on and saying, oh, I had that same problem. I'll be happy to chat with you if you want. And that's how I've made these other friends. So that
I
might be
love
something
that.
you guys should encourage maybe a little more is,
Yeah.
not only relying on the questions for coaches, but maybe questions for community members.
Right, right. So, one of the other points that I feel like a lot of people, or another pain point, especially people that are reaching retirement or in retirement, is the working hours.
Hmm.
Because once you are in retirement, I would assume that you now have all this free time to do,
Hmm.
either you have a lot of free time and you don't want to do anything, or you have a lot of free time and you want to feel it. How have you kind of worked through that yourself, and how do you compartmentalize and keep yourself on track? And how are your working hours through retirement?
Okay, I'm not sure I'm the best example for this. Being a professor, being in higher ed, is a different kind of teaching environment and teaching schedule. So I had 35 years of being fairly independent with my own schedule. And, here's the grading I had to get done, here's the research, the writing that I had to get done. And it was really on my own, not 100%, but, pretty much under my own control. So I have not struggled with um, that issue in my own retirement. In fact, I think if somebody said to me, you have to work from 9 to 5, I don't know if I could do it. Um, the other thing is, since I don't have a lot of, my grandkids don't live right next door, and my time is my own. So if, I'll work from, let's say, 8 in the morning over a cup of coffee, take the dog for a walk, come back and do some more. I quit by about 6:30. I'm not like I'm working,
Right.
13 hours. Not doing that whole time. But it's okay. I need to take a break now. This thing is just not coming, and I'm able to go, and nobody cares. Nobody knows, and that's
So
that's.
you've already kind of gotten that time blocking thing. You already had it under your belt by the time you kind
Yeah,
of
I
got
kind of
started.
did. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now, one other thing that I would love for you to touch on is, since you have started the program, what is the one thing that you feel like has truly helped you and helped transform you and your shop the most?
What Tanner has said, can you just let it be hard? Isn't that crazy?
I,
But,
yes.
for people who are perfectionists, who and educators tend to be, right? To be able to take a breath and say, this is not coming to me. I don't understand how to do this. And that's okay. To have a year-long program where, if this were 2 weeks, Lauren, I would be in a panic. Wait a minute, I'm not far enough yet. I don't have what. But to know I've got these months out in front of me where this help, and I'm assuming the community will go on after it, it's just a relief to not feel that time pressure. And the time pressure and also the achievement pressure, I think, is the thing. To just be able to say, this is difficult. I'm not going to get it overnight, and that's perfectly fine.
And I mean, honestly, what you just said truly, I mean, it even resonates with me. Let it be hard. Like you said, as an educator and a teacher, which I feel like there are people in our community that are that, and maybe you're not officially an educator or a teacher, but some people are perfectionists. It's hard for us who help and teach others to receive that help and be on the learning
Exactly.
side.
Yeah.
And learning from others, it is hard sometimes for us to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So sitting with it and letting it be hard is something that I truly feel like is just so valuable.
And I'll tell you, I had not really heard that very often in my life. That, and I don't remember obviously who or specifically what Tanner was responding to, but the person was, you could tell, really despondent and just like, almost I want to quit. And for him to be able to say, it's hard for everybody, let it be hard, and you'll come out on the other side. That was a big relief for me.
Yeah, especially if people are trying to do it on their own.
I don't know how. Yeah.
It can be. One of the things that I have always wanted to make clear, you're not going to have overnight success.
Right.
You're not going to. And if you do, it is very few and far between that people have that overnight success. I'm not saying that it's not doable. I do feel like that there are always going to be outliers where that happens. But for 99% of us who want to start a creative business, start an Etsy shop, bring in that passive income, it's not a cakewalk, but it's going to be worth it if you let it be hard in the long run. We're not we're not the hare. We're the tortoise in this scenario.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And there aren't very many venues in which that philosophy holds in the United States, I think. I think we're pushers. We are, you got to get this done. You got to get to the end. You've got to, and having a goal, obviously, having several goals is wonderful, but not having how fast I get there as part of the goal is very relaxing. It relieves me to be able to stop and walk the dog and say, this is okay. I'm not stupid. I'm just learning something new.
And I feel like that is, I lost my train of thought. Give me just a second. Letting it be hard. I'm trying to go back. But not having, we're not competing in this program. No one is competing with each other.
Right.
We are just here to uplift each other. And our philosophy is 1% improvement. That's all we're looking for.
Yeah.
We just want you to try. We want you to work at it. And if we're seeing a 1% improvement, that's an improvement. We're going to celebrate those improvements.
And, if you were doing this on your own, you wouldn't know, for example, that the Etsy algorithm takes 30 to 45 days for your new listings to come to the surface. I wouldn't know. So I'd be looking at it saying, what's wrong? What's wrong with my listing? Why isn't getting anywhere? Mm-hmm. That kind of thing. Just the amount of detail, like the Etsy effect was so great because it certainly showed the power of Etsy and how extremely possible it is to do this. But it's not Pollyanna either. It's not saying, oh, anybody could do this. I suppose anybody could, but it has to be somebody who's willing to say just what we've been talking about. It's okay to have it be hard. It's okay to have it take time. Just relax and enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, for this, slow and steady, in my opinion, is what wins the race.
Yes.
I feel like you've probably seen that in your business. I know that you've added digital designs for your shop. They may not be necessarily taking off just right now, but I can see so many improvements that you've made since you started. Girl, your mock-ups have gone from here to here.
Yeah.
And that, like we've talked about, is what sells. And having the availability of coaches to tell you, hey, Margaret, this is what we're seeing. This is why you may not be getting sales, but your shop is still growing. Your shop is still selling. And eventually, and that's because you have just recently, you've just recently added digital designs like a month or so ago.
Since February or March, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not even been that long. You said it takes Etsy 30 to 45 days to pick up on new listings. Like right now, they're still pushing your physical stuff, like your little miniatures. Yeah. So it's just it takes time, it takes patience, it takes perseverance.
Right.
And having those people in your corner, allowing you to sit with that and realize I'm not a failure. Yeah. It's just going to take me a little bit and I'm just going to keep getting better and better. And you're going to see those results.
I really believe it. I would not have signed up for the program or stuck with it probably if I didn't have that sense about it. That it'll happen.
It will. So the last thing that I would love to ask is if there is someone here that is watching and maybe reaching retirement, they're scared. If you had one piece of advice for a creative that is wanting to start a business, doesn't even have to be anything related to the program, but if there was one piece of advice, what would you say?
Don't try to do it all on your own. Find a community. Maker's Gonna Learn, PES.
No matter where it's at.
Find a community of people who have expertise that you don't have, that can teach you, that are willing to give you constructive, kind criticism and say, oh, those mock-ups, let me tell you how to make those better. And you can go over here and find this stuff. And that I just don't think that most people would be able to do that on their own. I mean, I didn't know about Photopea. How would I know unless I happen to be talking to somebody about it? So it's, don't try to do it. Here's the thing. There's no need to do it on your own. You probably could, but there's a world out there of people with expertise who are willing to help you, who can help you jump over hurdles without having to climb over them yourself. If you can find a group like that, do it and give your time to the creative side and the business side. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. What you're saying is let yourself be creative, but let someone else help you with the business side, because a lot of times as creatives, we don't have an analytical brain.
Right.
It's hard as a creative to have both an analytical brain and a creative brain.
Exactly, yeah.
It's two different sides. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's very hard for me on the business side of things. Mm-hmm. I love math, I love numbers, but like business strategy, I've had to teach myself a lot of that and had to teach myself, okay, we're working from this side of the brain today. We're not working from our creative side.
Yeah.
No, but for the majority of people, it's hard to do that. So having coaches that can guide you business-wise, to leave you wide open for your creative side, I think really is just so valuable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to tie in the other things that we've been saying, there's also that mindset. There's that encouragement. There's stay with it. I really like what you're doing. Why don't you try this? And for me, that's very helpful.
Oh, for sure.
In addition to
Mindset, I feel like we've not really talked on mindset a lot, but mindset in and of itself, mindset coaching, and having people, like you said, that's in your corner, that's like just saying from the outside looking in, maybe we could change this, or slow down, where we're going to slow down to speed up.
Right.
And don't give up. I am the world's worst, that if I don't get it right the first time, or I don't understand it immediately, I'm like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I don't get it, because most everything else I do, I can get real quick. And if it's something hard, like you said, I give up. That's what this program and our coaches are here for, is to make sure you don't give up.
Don't give up. Right.
Yes. Well, Margaret, thank you so, so much for being here with us today. I'm so excited for people to hear how you have been successful, your transformations, and I'm just excited to see how far your shop goes, because I know for a fact that it's going to be so successful for you.
Thank goodness for the coaching. Yeah, thank you. It's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it, Lauren. Thank you.
I have to. Thank you so much.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye.